Growing up, I was a very big Cartoon Network fan, and when there was nothing to watch on Cartoon Network, I would stumble across one of the greatest shows ever on Nickelodeon, Avatar: The Last Airbender. So originally, I did not even know about this show coming out. I didn't see like any of the news on like the premieres or like any like big news drops on like my feed. I didn't know about this show. I literally was just scrolling on Netflix and I happened to stumble across it and I was like,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
please don't let it be that 2010 abomination because that movie wasn't the greatest at all. Now, when I say that movie wasn't the greatest, I did, uh, bro, let me get this straight. The music in that movie was great. The only problem that I had with that movie was the talking between the characters and the lack of symmetry between the bending and the animation of the bending coming out. And it just wasn't the greatest. And how they pronounced, you know, Aang's name, Aang's original name is Aang. In that movie, they called him Ong and they called Sokka Soka. But not to get sidetracked or anything like that. I'm gonna just talk about some of the things that I really liked and some of the things that I didn't like about this show. I would love to say, and not to get into spoilers, I love the story development and the character development of General Iroh and Prince Zuko. I thought that was amazing in this show to where you could dang near call the show Prince Zuko and Iroh. For somebody who hasn't watched a cartoon, and you can't really assume that somebody will watch the cartoon before they watch this because there's different people. I think that you can get a really good character background and good idea of who the character is in this series of Iroh and Prince Zuko. The fighting skills of Zuko were really good. When Iroh, busted out a couple moves, he was cool as well. I think they did a great job with them. Overall, the choreography with the fights and, how the fights played out, I thought they were pretty good. There were some parts where got like maybe like 2 minutes of action, then that was it for about 20 something minutes. But, in terms of like action, I did really like how much action they, wanted to put in this series. I thought they did a good job with that. In terms of the casting, I thought the casting was decent. I thought all of the characters were, in their good spots to portray their characters, and I thought they did a pretty decent job. The only real thing that I had a problem with was like the lack of character development in all of the characters. In the cartoon, you have a lot more, goofiness and like a lot more playtime. In the show, it's really just one core objective, and it's just to get Aang where he needs to be. And that seems like everybody is living for that moment and only that moment. They don't even care about their own like passions and, goals at that point. It's just get Aang where he needs to be, and that's final. That's all we need to do. They do, have their moments where they're laughing, they make jokes, but it's not that much to where you can, take like maybe 2 hours of that out of the show. It's not even maybe 45 minutes of that. So yeah, it was a very serious first season. I don't know if they're making a season 2 out of this. I hope they do because I thought the first season was decent. It wasn't the greatest and it wasn't bad either. It's just, some things that I feel like they needed to tweak on just a little bit, but it wasn't bad. In terms of the bending in this show, I would probably say that the Fire Nation had it, not by a long shot, but pretty much by a long shot. I don't know. The amount of screen time that the Firebenders had, just because they were chasing Aang a lot of the show, um, they were just really good. Their fighting style was cool. The flames coming out of the hands at the right times were cool. The kicking was cool. I just thought they did the best. We didn't really see too much of the earthbending other than in like the first episode and a little bit of like the fourth. We didn't really see too much of that. Airbending, you really don't see too much of that other than in the first episode and what Aang does. And it's, very just simple stuff. He's just blowing air at people. The waterbenders, you didn't really see too much of them besides Katara in all of the episodes. And she did very little and not until like the end. And then you see a little bit more of the water bending at the the final two episodes, which I did like because they did step up their game in those last two episodes. I always feel like with the water it's harder because you can't sync the hands with the water at the same exact time. And it was a little bit in the beginning where Katara was like trying to learn how to bend and like the water was up, but her hand signs were going way too fast for the water to like seem like it could comprehend, and it just did not like make sense to me. It just did not make sense. And with her attacks, man, it's just the water tribe in general. Like, here's water, right? Here's water. That's literally all they do the entire show. There's no like sense of like, I'm gonna attack you as hard as I can, but when I tell you I'm gonna attack you, I'm just gonna throw water on you. Like, that's literally the whole water tribe. Like, the water tribe is like the coolest. They should be the coolest, but yet they're the weakest because like when they throw water at you, it's just like tissue paper hitting you. Like my mom and me were joking about it. Like she came up and she was like, "This is what it feels like to be getting hit by the the water tribe." She literally just grabbed a tissue and hit me in the face with it. I was like, "You're completely right. You're completely right." Because there's just no like, how am I getting hurt by this? And there's even a scene in there. Aang, Katara, and Sokka are running from the Fire Nation, to try and not get captured. And Katara, kind of steps back and does like this ice shield attack. And it's the first ice shield attack that she's done. And I'm like, okay, she's stepping it up a little bit, giving actual like tough attacks. Like they might not get up from this. They didn't even get up in 1 second. They got up in like zero point 0.2 seconds. Like, what are you bending for? What are you bending for? You should have just ran. Should have just ran. I did like how they portrayed Avatar in like his really like bad state towards like the end of the show in the last episode. I thought they did a really good job with that. I did like how they left it on a cliffhanger, giving us more stuff and hinting us at another season. I hope they bring another season because it wasn't bad. I felt like this show was paced kind of fast because once you get to the end of the show, you're kind of already at the end conclusion that it took the show 3 seasons to dang near get to. So they did put a lot of information and a lot of story into these 8 episodes. So if there is a second season, I'm probably, 100% sure that that is going to be the last season because they hinted at the comet at the end of, the last episode. And that is the final episode of the cartoon. So I think they're going to make a second season and then they're going to be done. So the pacing was definitely fast. It honestly is a lot of information to gather. And if you haven't watched the cartoon show, it might be a little hard to pick up because, like I said before, in this Netflix series, they didn't really give enough time to give a proper, like, background on every single character besides Iroh and Prince Zuko. That like I said, you could just call the show Prince Zuko and Iroh if you want to, because their stories are crazy. They they literally gave us everything about them, and they leave us at the end with, okay, what is Zuko doing this for? At the end of the day, what is he here for? So I really like how they portrayed Zuko in this. They did a really good job, and a lot of people probably would like complain about like his stubbornness or like his temper tantrums. But Iroh, man, I think Iroh has to be my favorite character in this show. It just shows like the love between the uncle and the nephew, and like how many times Iroh is there to help Zuko, achieve his goals, even though it might not be the greatest goal. He's still there, and like, you know, that he loves him, even though he doesn't say it. You know that he loves him, and there's this one scene in particular where there's this regiment, like the not even a scout regiment. I don't know why I'm thinking it's like Attack on Titan, but there's this unit, and in the show, this is probably a spoiler, but it's really good. In the show, he's at this council meeting with his father and his fellow other, council people. Now his father sets out a plan, and Zuko really doesn't agree with this plan. So Zuko stands up for himself and says that the plan does not work. And with the plan, his father tried to send this specific unit of people out to be sacrificed. But when Zuko and his father battle, they kind of, part ways, and his father tells him to go away forever until you find the Avatar and to never come back. And he said since you don't want to listen and you don't want to, agree with my plans or whatever. This is not what was said. I'm just making up stuff. He said you can take this group of people with you. Now, mind you, these people were going to be sacrificed. So Zuko prevented all of them from being killed. And in the beginning of the show, nobody knows that. So at the end, talks to one of the people that are from that, group, and he says the reason are you that you are alive is because of Zuko. Zuko made that sacrifice. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful scene, and how they portrayed it was amazing. I was literally in my bed just screaming. I'm like, this show honestly did have its really goofy scenes and scenes that really didn't make sense. And one of the scenes, I don't even know if I could show it because I don't want to risk getting copyrighted or anything like that. In one of the scenes, Katara is water bending or whatever, and she messes up and splashes herself with water. But as soon as she splashes herself with water, her whole face becomes dry. Her whole face. So I'm thinking, okay, her outfit's wet, right? Literally, the water just evaporates into I don't know what, and her face is completely dry. Clothes completely dry, everything. It's like the water didn't even hit her. Like it literally splashed her in the face and it did not do anything to her. Yeah. I could go on about this, but yeah, let me know what you guys think of this. Are you guys going to go and watch it? Are you guys going to go and watch the 2010 version? Please don't do that. If you just want to listen to good music, sure. But, if you guys want to go and watch the cartoon, let me know what you guys think of this. Again, I thought it wasn't, the greatest, but it wasn't bad. It had its pros and it had its cons, but at the end of the day, I'm still, happy with the result. So it was good. That's going to be a wrap for me, guys. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and also subscribe. It helps the video out and I would very much appreciate it. And yeah, I love you all. Take care. Stay safe out there. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.